for meeting with me, really.
Thank you.
Really.
It's an honor and a pleasure.
No, the honor's mine, really. I was kind of hesitant to ask you, but I'm glad you agreed.
Yes. No, I'm willing anything for edification of the body here in El Paso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted, because, I worked for the FBI. I'm retired now. But
do you still have pictures of me? No, I'm just joking.
And I used to work for the PD too. I was on patrol here in El Paso for 5 years. And, youth, I think, is something that always has been, in the back of my mind, whether I ran into somebody who was young. And later on in my career in the FBI, definitely, dealt with a lot of young people. So I thought doing this interview would be good.
Yes, most definitely. I'm honored. Thank you so much. And it's never in my life would I ever think I'll be sitting right next to an FBI agent. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, wow. Yeah.
Well, I'm just a regular person now.
Yeah.
Civilian.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you, do you want to share with me, and I want to know I imagine you got involved when you were young. Can you tell me about that?
With the gangs?
Is that when was the first time you went, whether it was juvenile hall?
Technically my first time was when I was 12 years old, but I started doing time when I was 13.
You started doing
Yes,
time?
The juvenile probation department. I ended up in boot camp twice. I did a year and a half as the boot camp challenge.
Okay.
And then from there, I had turned 17. I went straight to prison. From the juveniles, when I turned 17, I went straight to prison.
Oh, so you were in juvenile hall, and after you did your time and you became an adult, so I imagine you became 18, then you went to prison
Well, I actually went to prison at 17 because I was charged as an adult. Like I had only been out for like a month or two as from boot camp, and I went straight into prison.
Do you want to tell me what was that about? Why were you charged as an adult?
I think it's because I was 17 already, and I picked up a lot of charges as a juvenile. I had like 40 burglary habitations. I had like 10 burglary of vehicles, 10 burglary of business. Like robberies was my thing, right? And
robberies was your thing.
So to answer your question about why and how I got involved was pretty much I feel, looking back and reflecting on everything was definitely the culture around me. I want to honor my mom, but at the time she was broken. You know what I mean? And because it was a cycle in my family. I believe in generational curses. You know what I'm saying? So it long story short, I had my dad left early, and she was drinking a lot. You know what I mean? My other brother, he got sentenced to 45 years at 17 too, and it really destroyed her. You know what I mean? So she started drinking more, and then my other brother did 19 years. Her, and then I'm the baby brother, and then I started getting locked up. So, growing up, poor, having this like insatiable like void in my heart, in my mind, like, my dad's from Honduras, right? So he wanted to send me to school with shoes and stuff, but my mom was like, no, you can't do that here. CPS. So I was really like ashamed growing up, like being poor and stuff. And so.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Northeast.
So you grew up here.
Yes, in El Paso. Yes,
okay.
In El Paso, Sun Valley, McCombs, and pretty much like at that age, I had a very traumatic experience happen to me from a male adult. You know what I mean? Who got me confused as a kid, and about 7 years old, and you know what I mean, like, and I think that stemmed, and it gave me a lot of insecurities and stuff. You know what I mean? I was being sent home from school a lot. I peed myself a lot and stuff, and I was just lost, right? And so my role models were gangsters, right? My uncles, my cousins, my brothers, my older brothers, and my whole family is pretty much, some of them have turned away, but were involved in the cartel and Barrio Azteca and stuff. So they were my role models and stuff. So every time I hear about them, they were like idolized. You know what I mean? And it don't help that we watch movies like Goodfellas and all that
Mhm.
stuff where they get this respect and all the women and all the drugs and all the money and stuff and the power. So I was drawn to that. You know what I
You
mean?
were done.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you just got involved because of your surroundings? Something happened to you when you were 17 years old.
Mhm.
And I know that I mean, since I used to work cases, there's usually, not usually,
Well,
but
7 years old.
7
I was
years
a
old.
little kid. Yeah.
7 years old. I'm sorry if I said something different, but 7 years old. So, and sometimes there's sexual abuse in the home or
Yeah.
sexual abuse from somebody else, and
Right.
that just, so that, and I'm not saying that happened in your case, I'm just saying
Oh yeah, that definitely
that,
happened.
that, that,
Yeah, that definitely through like it's awkward to talk about it, but I'm like it's not about me. It's my testimonies for others. You know what I mean? But
So you really basically the what happened to you at 7 years old, then you were your brother went to prison. It just destroyed your mom even more. She
Yes.
started drinking and even more heavily, and you were just out on your own. You had another older brother who also went to prison, so it was just, you know, you were just
Chaotic.
you were just surrounded, and I would imagine people around you also were involved in criminal activity.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
gosh, I mean, like I said, your background and my background, completely different.
Right.
So thank you for sharing that. But I wanted to ask you, what is the biggest? Well, before I ask you that, can you tell me about your tattoos? Was it something you got little by little, or what started you, or?
Well, yeah. So I already started using drugs probably like at 12, 11, and I had older men that were my homeboys, right, or friends or whatever, but they were already gangsters, and so they were already doing tattoos. So I got my first tattoo at 13.
At 13.
Yeah, and then I came home and like I hid it from my mom for like I don't know how long, and then she's like, what the heck? What do you like? You know what I mean? What are you doing with the tattoo? And then so it started with that. You know what I mean? And then getting locked up more, and then noticing. So this is a pattern that I noticed in any system really, but the penitentiary, the juvenile system is mental health and chemical dependency. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I would sit at the table as a juvenile and then see my friends around me, and there was like not normal behavior, like weird stuff that, you know what I mean? I'm like, like, you know, there's a lot of, I didn't realize it there, but it kind of like already gave me a glimpse of what the system is like. There's a lot of.
So there was already drugs inside, and that's what they were taking.
Yeah. And it led them to do heinous crimes, you know what I mean? Led them to do some things they probably wouldn't have done if they were sober. You know what I mean? The juveniles.
Even inside juvenile hall. So really, okay. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, that is something that happens a lot. You know, the drugs that go in the jail.
Yeah.
I mean, to keep them out, even though it is a secure facility, but they still manage to get in there one way or another. But yeah, well, thank you. So it was eventually little by little, and I only ask you about your tattoos because, well, obviously they're visible, but you know, that's how, when I heard about you because they were saying that you were a very passionate pastor, a speaker, that you just spoke very well and passionate when you talked about God. And they said, oh, it's Rene, Tattoo Renete, so the other Rene.
Yeah.
So that's why, that's how I first, heard about you. But do you, like, is it a challenge now that you're out of the criminal activity? You're a good person now. You're a pastor. Do the tattoos, do people get reactions to it, or?
Yes, and mixed reactions, especially when I first got out of prison. I don't know why, but older Mexican ladies always at Walmart just kind of like look at me, you know what I'm saying? But I get mixed reactions and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, this way I look attracts a certain demographic, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So I can relate because I grew up in it, so that's part of my ministry, you know, in the streets, in the prisons. What was your original question?
Yeah, is it a challenge now, like now that you're no longer committing crime, but...
Oh, in different aspects. In ministry, people tell me when I start speaking that they don't even see the tattoos and stuff. You know what I mean?
Because you're a powerful speaker. That's why.
Glory to God. Yeah, yeah, and so for the ministry, like I feel it's solid because I've even ministered to police officers in the streets. I've prayed for them. It's wild. I never in my life. It's because you have to know who I am. Like my past life, I was like, do you remember that guy that got healed from Legion and stuff? That was me. Yes, yeah, in the Bible, and that definitely was me. I was out of my mind. Yes.
So how did you get out? What was the defining moment for you that finally said, okay, I need to change my life?
Okay, so I've done 14 years. I've been in prison 4 times, right? Except for this last time I took it to trial. I faced what we say is 25 years and up is a life sentence. So I faced a life sentence before, you know, almost getting blamed for a murder that happened and stuff, and thank God I had witnesses and everything like that. Then the 3rd time I went back to prison, and then the 4th time is when I lost my body. Like I was like 130 pounds, and I was fresh out of prison, so I was really fit. So I lost my body, I lost my mind. I started selling dope. I had a 4-bedroom house, etc., 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 and I lost it. And I was talking to myself in the streets, you know what I mean, because of methamphetamine. I sold to an undercover. It was a 2-year investigation where they confiscated $270,000 in cash and 7 pounds of everything. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And they rounded up 30 gang members. And I was sitting in the cell. Mind you, I had picked up like 5 assaults on public servants, 2 escapes causing bodily injury to a public servant, burglary habitation with intent to commit felony assault because people owed money. We went into the house and everything. I had some heavy charges, and so I've been in prison 3 times. I'm sitting in my cell, and I'm like, what the heck? That's why I was saying I relate to the Legion guy, because I was out of my mind. You know what I mean? I didn't care about life, because that insatiable void that I had, I kept trying to fill it in with women, drugs, and everything else but God, because I went to war with God at the age of 13, because I was so angry. Like, if you loved me so much, why would you allow so much things to happen? You know what I mean? And I just didn't understand at the time. So going back, doing 14 years, and sitting in that cell and facing 30 years, which is what we call a life sentence, because I've already been 14 gone, and 30 more years is a life sentence. Think about it, you know.
So something happened in that cell to you that night.
Yes, looking outside. I was looking outside. Excuse me. I was looking outside the window. Okay, so I'm a confirmed gang member, right? I did 7 years in Seg too as well. So I'm sitting in my cell, looking out the window, and I'm just like, what did I do to my life? Like, what? Like, I messed up my life. You know, I lost everything. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, what's the whole point of life? You know what I'm saying? And mind you, in those 14 years, I studied everything. Like, I love knowledge. I love knowing things. I love how animals behave. I love human behavior. I just like to study. But I would take God out of the equation, right? So when I'm sitting in the cell, looking outside the window, contemplating suicide, my neighbor, he bangs on the wall, and he talks to the little intercom, and he's like, hey, can you ask the lawman if so we have a little button that you push right there, and if you can dim the light so I can read my book, right? And I'm crying like a little boy. I feel like I'm 7 years ago, crying like I'm gonna do this. I'm rocking back and forth, like I have my noose made out of my blanket, like I'm ready to do it and stuff. And yeah, so I push the button, the lights turn on, and I see how God works, because doing that made another gang member, high-rank gang member, get mad and start cussing me out. Oh, you know who I am? And he started cussing me out, and I'm like, I went from a 7-year-old little boy crying to like, who's this guy talking to, right? So I kind of snapped back into reality. I grabbed the Bible that was in my cell, started reading it, and I was like, man, God, show me your real. What's the whole point of my life? What's the whole purpose? You know what I'm saying? Somewhere in chapter 3 of Genesis is where like the veil was taken off, and like everything started, all the dots started connecting. God was there the whole time. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. So this was going to be in when you were in your cell.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
were ready to do it. You were thinking about it. You were going to go with it, and it's that moment that just
Yeah, it took that moment to make me realize that there's more to here and now. You know what I'm saying? This life that we live on earth is temporary.
So that changed you
Whole
were a changed
perspective.
man after that.
Yes. And mind you, like, just because like I came to God that day doesn't mean that God tells us in 2 Corinthians chapter 5 that anyone's in Christ a new creation and an ambassador, right? So we represent Christ on earth. But the temptations did not leave immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was still struggling with, you know, like women and like, cause I mean, I'm facing like sinners. I wanted like companionship. I wanted like somebody to care about me. You know what I mean? So, but it wasn't until I started building my relationship with Christ and the obedience part. You know what I'm saying? Because Jesus does tell us, like, if you love me, you obey my commandments, right? It wasn't until I started building my relationship and the two laws that are summed up, right? Love God with everything you got, and the second one is like the first one, love your neighbor like you love yourself. I think when I focused on other people, because like, to be honest, like addiction and self-gratification, all of those things are selfishness. You know what I'm saying? But when God takes off the veil and you realize and you look at other people that are in addiction and you're sober now, it's like when I focus and try to help them, when I pour into them, I'm not thinking about my own selfish desires anymore. You know what I'm saying? God's design was to honor one another above our own selves, right? And so I think when we start doing that, we honor God, right? And then you become selfless instead of selfish.
So how old were you when this happened?
I think I can't remember, but I think I want to say 28.
28. So 28.
Last week.
Last week.
No, I'm just joking.
So, and you've been a changed man, and we'll wrap it up because I know we're probably going to be running out of time soon. But if you could go back, and I know your surroundings and everything, but if you were looking at your young self back then, or if there's a young person there who's going to happen to see this video, what would you tell that young person? What would be your recommendation? Because if anybody can talk to somebody who's thinking or struggling, would be you, because you've been through it. What would you tell that young person to make him or her stop and turn around?
Okay, so one is all of it's fake. All of it's fake. It's fake friends. It's a delusion. It's what Satan wants you to think. You know what I'm saying? Because that lifestyle comes nothing but hurt, pain, anger, bitterness, selfishness. You know what I mean? And it's just going to lead to a lot of suffering, a lot of pain. And my recommendation, right, or what I would say, right? See, you don't want to be looking over your back, always like hearing that and stuff. But
Siren.
Yeah, we'll pray for them, right? You know, it's a lot of suffering, for real. It's a lot of suffering. It's fake.
So, like, for example, when one of the things that I share with kids, you know, youth, is always, it's a struggle to go to school. It's not easy. It's a commitment. So I always tell people there's two differences between who obtains a college degree, one that doesn't, is that the one that obtained the college degree was committed. Doesn't mean that they're more smarter than you. It's just you continue and you don't give up.
Discipline.
We're the first generation in my family who went to college.
Wow.
My brother, who got a degree in electrical engineer, he said words to, and he wasn't even saying them to me, but I heard them and I remember them. He was struggling because, again, English was our second language. We were all didn't know how to study, and he was in college. He was struggling, and he says, I am not quitting until they kick me out of college. And so I thought, you know what, that's an attitude to have. Like, we should never, if things don't come easy to you, just continue.
Keep pushing through.
Keep pushing through. Is it hard? Yes, it is. But it's the commitment that is going to make you successful in anything. So that's why I was asking, is there anything like and it's true what you said. I mean, if you have other people around you and they're asking you to do things, doesn't mean you have to do it to fit in. It takes strength and courage to say, you know what, and blame it on your parents or blame it on somebody. You know what,
my mama told me,
or mom is so strict, I can't do this and stuff. But you know, it's easier said. For me, I give different advice than you would give other kids. Yeah,
most definitely. So now that you say it like that, like one of the things is I was a weak kid because I didn't have that guidance, right? So my mentors were telling me to do evil things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Start selling, start doing that, start do that. But it's all a fake. It's an illusion. So discipline is what comes out of my mind. Like discipline, you have to discipline yourself. But if your goal is right here and you want to be an NBA a player, you know what I'm saying? And are you gonna go party with your friends? No, right? You're gonna go to training every morning at 6 in the morning and then just focus. So focusing, discipline, commitment, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, suffering, that's what I was gonna think that came to my mind. No pain, no gain. That's what's coming in my mind. Like when you work out, you tear the muscle, it hurts. But when you relax and rest, it grows, and then you do it again, right? So, and then our Jesus, you know what I'm saying? He learned obedience through suffering, as it says in Luke, right? So suffering, we embrace it because I'm gonna say Romans 5:3 on down, because that's what made me who I am now. Looking back at the kid that I was, you know what I'm saying? Me, I wouldn't choose the path. You know what I'm saying? I would have told myself, but God had different plans, right? So through that pain, through that suffering, it molded who I was, right? Like gold is made pure through the fire, so the impurities fall out, right? So when something doesn't go our way, or something we want to do something that's boring, but we have to do it, you got to push through and discipline yourself and stay committed. And it's one, look, 1,000-mile journey begins with the first step, and then one